Also, when I was in 5th grade, I played softball. It was my one and only season playing baseball. I played on the Chicago Cubs of the, like, Bettenhausen fucking softball league, whatever. Started off the season not being able to throw a ball, and I ended the season. It's one of my favorite stories to tell. I caught a freaking ball behind my back, and it was the final out of that inning. And it was amazing, and I didn't mean to catch it behind my back. I wasn't paying attention, and then the ball landed in my mitt behind my back playing shortstop. So, one of the highlights of my life. My dad was so mad that I didn't intentionally do it. But I did it nonetheless, so happy birthday, Raina. You're amazing. My Gemini sister. Happy birthday. 25! Hello, my name is Novaski, and today we're going to be talking about the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, the AAGPBL for short, and complicated things. We're also going to talk about the Rockford Peaches, but we'll find out later why there's not a lot of stories about them. So, the United States entered World War II, obviously, in the, 40s. And because of, that's who these executives were, the executives of the Major League Baseball, MLB for short, were freaking out because all of their star players got drafted, and they were like, how are we going to play baseball? How are we going to make money? Our only talent is finding athletic men to throw a ball around. So they weren't sure what to do. And the players that were left that were ineligible to go to war couldn't travel to the other cities if they wanted to because there was gasoline rationing happening at the time. So they had all these baseball teams without their star players, with all their scrubs, not able to get on the buses and go 2 states over to the next team. So, 3 men decided that they were going to create the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, the AAGPBL for short, because all the women were obviously left back at home, as we know. We've seen the movie League of Their Own. And they were working in the factories and refineries and doing all of the men's work while the boys were across fighting the Nazis. So they decided that they could do a baseball league of their own. A league of their own. Anyways, so it was 3 men. Philip K. Wrigley of Wrigley Field, about 2 miles from here. Fame, I think he's the grandfather. He was the grandson of the original Wrigley, the gum company, and the company the field's named after. It was him, a man named Branch Rickey, whose biggest claim to fame, aside from this, is he was the first guy to break Major League Baseball, what they called color relations, 20 years from now when he signed Jackie Robinson on to play professional baseball, so that's cool. And then a third guy named Paul Harper, who was so unimportant to this story, he doesn't have a Wikipedia article. We're going to focus on Philip K. Wrigley, the marketing genius behind the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, the AAGPBL for short. Mr. Wrigley decided that this baseball league would have to have what I'm calling the Big Four in marketing. He decided it would be called, the 4 elements were recreation for war workers, femininity, community welfare, and family entertainment. And all 4 of those are exactly what the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, the AAGPBL for short, was about. They went and scouted around 1,000 women from the United States and as far up to Canada as they could get. And then they invited 200 women to come and try out for this baseball league down the street at Wrigley Field. Paul Wrigley, his name is Philip Wrigley, said, I have a baseball field and no one to play in it. We're going to have a bunch of chicks come and hit a ball around. That's an exact quote. So 200 women, girls actually came and, I almost said auditioned. They tried out. And 60 people made teams. Girls as young as 10 were able to go and try out for the team. I saw a few interviews, and these women were saying they were 11 years old and they were playing professional baseball. So the movie really is inaccurate on the ages of these baseball players. All of the coaches were former Major League Baseball players. Ones that were a little too old to go fight in the war, or they like sprained their ankle or cut their toe off, or whatever it was they were doing to not go over there. So they all got to go and be the managers of these baseball teams. The main reason for this is so, quote, people knew this league was serious, because no one ever takes women seriously. The first league, the first year of this league, the rules were kind of a combo of softball, the kind of leagues where they were finding all of these talented women, and baseball. Really the main two differences that like most normal people who understand the concept of baseball would know is that the teams were exactly 9 people, 9 positions on a baseball field. You got your catcher, your pitcher, your first base, your second base, your shortstop, your third baseman, your right fielder, your center fielder, and your left fielder. I played right field when I played softball in 5th grade. Also, shortstop. Whereas, like, the normal men's teams probably had around 30 people. Because, you know, we only had 200 people come out for 4 teams, so we could have totally done 30, but we got 9. They had to play every single game and the same position for each of those games. They really didn't have a choice to not play. There were only 9 people on a team. The other major difference is that for the first year they actually had a pitcher's mound. That is what they call where the pitcher stands, but in professional baseball it's just flat. The women had about a 2-foot mound to help them out. The mound was also far closer to the batter than in professional baseball, and even in the small recreational leagues of softball. So they really thought they needed some coddling there. There were about 10 seasons of this baseball league, and by the last season they were kind of like, oh, women don't need any sort of different rules. They were playing the exact same rules that the men were playing, but it only took 10 years to get there. Because why should we take women seriously? I took notes, Raina. Of course I took notes. Just making sure I got every single thing in here. Moving on to my next page. The first game of the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, the AAGPBL for short, was played actually on your birthday on May 30th of 1943, and the league lasted until September of 1954. About 10 rounds of this. A major element of this league was that their spring training was also charm school. They were supposed to look like ladies, play like men. So they had to go to charm school. A lot of these were women that grew up on farms. They were in rural communities where they were kind of allowed to play softball. So they didn't know things like how to cross your legs when you sit down, how to curl your hair, how to put on makeup.
So we're talking charm school, not charm school.
We're talking charm school, not charm school. You gave me a baseball league, not Harry Potter. They were taught proper etiquette for every situation. And they were also taught about personal hygiene. Pause for the train.
Waterfall for the train.
Waterfall for the train. Oh, it's gone. They were also taught personal hygiene, because apparently when you grow up on a farm, you don't know how to take a shower. Highlights of the Code of Conduct for the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. The AAPGBL for short. They weren't allowed to have short hair. They weren't allowed to smoke or drink in public. And they had to wear lipstick at all times. All times. The Code of Conduct for the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, AAPGBL for short, was bar far and wide, way more stricter than the men's league, because women can't be trusted apparently. And they even included, along with a manager/coach, each team had their own chaperone to make sure that the girls were all acting okay in public and making sure they knew how to put their lipstick on, because they had to wear it at all times. There was even a player who was like, I'm gonna cut my hair short. It's fucking hot. We play in 115-degree weather and I have to play baseball. So she cut her hair short and was immediately fired from the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. The AAGPBL for short. That was charm school and spring training. So they learned how to play baseball, but also learned how to talk to people in public, which is probably something we all should go and do. But not because feminism. At the beginning of the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, AAGPBL for short, there were 4 teams. There were the Kenosha Comets, there were the Racine Bells, the South Bend Blue Sox, and the Rockford Peaches, who we're going to talk about and was the prompt of this assignment. Those 4 teams were close enough where they could travel to and from each location without going past the gasoline rationing that was preventing the male league from playing their games. 2 of those teams are in Wisconsin, one's in South Bend, Indiana, and of course the other one is in Rockford, Illinois. No, that's Joliet has the prison. Rockford has a baseball field that the Rockford Peaches played at. Moving on. Those 4 teams won 8 of the 10 baseball championships, the World Series of women's baseball in America. They won 8 out of 10 of them. The Kenosha Comets did not contribute anything to any of those titles because Kenosha is a garbage city. The Racine Bells and the South Bend Blue Sox both won 2 titles, and the most successful team of them all with 4 titles under their belts, the Rockford Peaches. They won the World Series the 3rd year of the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, the AAGPBL for short. Such a mouthful to say. And then they later went on and they won 3 in a row about halfway through all of this, from 1945 until that's not right. From 1948 until 1950, they had 3 in a row. Better than most of the Chicago professional sports teams of today. They also had the most players named to the All-Star team, and they had a pitcher. Her name was Olive Little, which is like the cutest name I could think of for anybody. Through the first no-hitter game of the team and the series. The league. Raina, because I don't think you know, a no-hitter is when the pitcher throws 27 strikes in a row, no one can hit the ball, a no-hitter for the whole game. She doesn't leave, she doesn't do anything, she couldn't leave if she wanted to, there were only 9 players on a team. Last page of notes. The Rockford Peaches tended to favor theatricality over technical skill, but they were also the team with the most wins in the 10 years of this league. So if they were the best team, imagine the theatrics. One of their players was asked about the theatricality of the team, and she said, quote, if God meant for us to be good at baseball, he would have made us... No, that's not what she said. One of their baseball players, Eileen Bummeister, cheers to Eileen, said, if God meant for us to play baseball, he would have made us any good at it. I don't know how I feel about that quote. I think it's funny, but I also don't know why she's saying they suck at baseball if they were the most successful team on the league. The league was very successful up until about 1945, 1946, when World War II ended and all of the good men's baseball players came home and basically said, we want to play baseball again. Get these girls out of our fields. So they had to leave the major baseball fields. They also had to sometimes leave the minor league baseball fields because they also came home and they were like, we want to play baseball again. So the league started to kind of dip in popularity year after year until it ended in 1953. Coincidentally, when the boys came home from war, the baseball historians forgot about the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, the AAGPBL for short, and kind of never talked about them again, which is awful because it was one of the most incredibly successful stories that came from domestic World War II here in the United States, and it also was one of the most inspiring stories of domestic World War II United States. These girls would leave their houses, their family farms at the age of 11, 13, 15 years old and go tour the Midwest and play baseball with other like-minded female individuals and just have the time of their lives. And it was awesome. And all these male historians were like, it didn't happen. Go F yourselves. Until the 80s, when one of the sons of a member of the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, the AAGPBL for short, attended the first reunion of the league and brought his camcorder, his whatever they recorded video on back then, and just kind of interviewed all these women he basically grew up with for a few years about their time playing baseball and what it was like to leave their family farms and go play baseball for a couple years and then go back home and essentially have to resume their womanly duties. And he made a documentary out of it. The documentary was called A League of Their Own. It was incredibly popular. All these people in the 80s had no idea, really, unless if they were related to a player, that this baseball league existed. And it just blew back up again. They have a Hall of Fame. They have a whole association to kind of preserve everything. They're selling a Rockford Peaches jersey on eBay for $250, super cash. But they kind of brought all these stories back, and they had yearly reunions up until a couple years ago of all the former players, and it was this big thing. And it was really cool. And then Penny Marshall, R.I.P., saw the documentary and said, this is really super cool. So she made what some would say, the Tom Hanks film, A League of Their Own. I would say the Gina Davis, the Rosie O'Donnell, the Madonna, all of those awesome women in that movie film, A League of Their Own. And she kind of took the success story of the Rockford Peaches and all the other highlights of the next 10 years and combined it into a 90-minute film that was recently, I think 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, submitted to the Smithsonian because it is this super incredibly, what they are labeling authentic and historical film. And it's to preserve that memory of that timeline because it's really the only film about that. And it kind of just tries to stay to some sort of truth, but obviously had to combine 10 whole freaking years of women's baseball. We have I could even say 100 films about men playing baseball, but we have one about women playing baseball, so it's a great film, got submitted to the Smithsonian, and it's amazing. And I would have talked more about the actual Rockford Peaches and their success, but like I said, the baseball historians conveniently forgot about them, so I could only say as much as I did here. But happy birthday, Raina. I love you lots. You're amazing. I'd say let's get together and play baseball, but there's no way in hell either of us are doing that anymore, so happy birthday, girlfriend.